Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And Bonsai sends you greetings as well. But this is not a happy video, this is a real video. The ANC government, with their racist policies, hundreds of them, and in particular BBBEE and BBBEE, are marching towards what is becoming very close to a white genocide. Now, why am I saying that? Because the extreme persecution under this ANC government of white people is self-evident. And you now have white squatter camps appearing all over the country as a direct result of the way they are being excluded from being able to get jobs in South Africa. Which reminds me of what happened in 1900 when the British Army put those Boers behind bars, the women and children, in these concentration camps, and the most horrific things happened. Tens of thousands of women, children, and the men died of things like starvation and disease. Now, if you look what's happening in South Africa today, there is absolutely no question that people in these white squatter camps, which the rest of the world and the mainstream media will not report on because they are fake news, is resulting in tens of thousands of current white South Africans living in a state of starvation. And if disease goes through one of these squatter camps, it's going to be absolutely appalling, because the public health system is a complete disgrace in South Africa. And if you're white, those nurses will probably look the other way and refuse to attend to you. That's the reality of what's going on. That's how racist this country has become. And to get our heads all around this so-called K word as being the major issue is complete crap. It's a complete red herring. The reality is that this ANC government is corrupt. It's completely racist in its policies, and that's self-evident. Before YouTube try and take offense to that, do your research on what BBBEE and BBBEE is. That's happening today in the 21st century in what is supposed to be a civilized country. They are basically excluding the white population from any opportunity to work. I don't care which way you call it, that is racist. And it gets worse. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment, or BBBEE Amendment Bill, which has just been put in place, eliminates all white people, including the disabled. Yeah, even the disabled. If you're white, tough. The definition of black people is now clear and aligned with the Constitution, Clausile said. White women would be the biggest losers in South Africa once the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Amendment Bill was enacted, as expected early next year by one Cyril Ramaphosa, HIPAA-wise. BBBEE specialist Andili said on Monday, the proposed changes meant that there would be no longer be entitled to benefit from the empowerment programs as has been the case until now. We're talking about white single women with children. So how do they support their children when they're kicked out because they are not black? Now, all the feminists around the world should be getting up and jumping up and down about this, but they're saying diddly squat about it, aren't they? This is the most exclusionary, racist employment policy in the world today, and I'm calling out the ANC on it. What this does, however, do is it represents a victory for the black business lobby, which has been fighting for the exclusion of white women from employment. White women would no longer be regarded as legitimate beneficiaries of black economic empowerment once imminent new laws come into effect. A member of the subcommittee of the Presidential BEE Advisory Committee, Andile Tloli, said in an interview, "There's been widespread criticism that white women were benefiting disproportionately from black economic empowerment, with their black counterparts relegated to the bottom rung of the drive to redress societal inequalities. The Black Management Forum has been leading the calls for white women to be excluded after it came to light that they were the fastest rising category of people in terms of employment equity." Well, there's a good reason for that. You know, it's the old L factor, the logic factor that's missing in action once again. The reason why the white women are moving quickly through the ranks is because they work harder. They're more capable. They're more competent. And that's a reality. But of course, that becomes a racist comment, doesn't it? Because I talked about the white people. And yet, these racist laws brought in by the ANC, like BEE and BBBEE, are fine. No problem. This is how fake the news around the world is. You know, they know what's going on, but they're not talking about it because it doesn't suit their narrative. Turley said, "The inclusion of white women had been abused. This had defeated the aim of true inclusivity." So he's confirming that race is what employment is based on in South Africa. What happened to the rainbow nation that Nelson Mandela talked about? Well, that's obviously gone for a walk around the park. It's not going to happen. Absolutely extraordinary. Now that the BBBEE Act would take precedence over any other legislation relating to empowerment, enterprises would no longer be able to claim employment equity points for white women. Employment equity is a key element of the BBBEE scorecard used to rate empowerment credentials. The Employment Equity Act still has white women as a designated group for affirmative action purposes. Tloli said the proposed changes to BEE legislation would go a long way ensuring that growing numbers of previously disadvantaged South Africans were drawn into the mainstream economy. And we know how corrupt that ANC government mainstream economy is. It is just ridiculous. Trade and Industry Minister Rob Davies gazetted the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Amendment Bill 2 weeks ago and gave members of the public 60 days to make submissions. Another highlight of the amendments has been the criminalization of the practice of misrepresenting BEE credentials known as fronting. Okay, so you got a business and you said, BS, I'm going to have more than 20% people who are not black working for me, but I'm going to pretend that I've got less than 20%, because that's what BEE is. Basically, you've got to have 80% black employees, and then 20% is kind of split between all the other minority groups. It's the most racist, incredibly intolerant, disgusting policy around. But if you go against BEE, this is what they're going to do to you. In terms of the proposed amendments, those involved in fronting, i.e. not meeting the BEE requirements, could face jail terms of up to 10 years or be fined 2% to 10% of their annual turnover, depending on the seriousness of the incident. In addition, contracts awarded to guilty companies could be cancelled. So there you go. This is a racist ANC government. They are now going to penalize businesses that actually employ too many white people. Yeah, you heard me right. Now, doesn't this smack of what happened back in Germany in the late 1930s? And yet the mainstream media, the fake news, are looking the other way and pretending like everything is fine in South Africa. And there is nothing that is really an issue in South Africa. There's the duplicity. As I said before, where are the friggin' feminists around the world who should be picking up this message and saying, whoa, these are white women who are now being excluded from the workforce because of a racist ANC government, and yet nobody says a thing. What hypocrisy. There's more. Further, the amended BBBEE law requires that government and its agencies comply. The Auditor General would audit and report on BEE compliance for government departments. Now, let us remember that just a few years ago, all those Gupta companies that were dealing with Eskom and stealing billions from the public purse, they were not BEE compliant, but they fabricated their BEE certificates. And they were fabricated with the knowledge of Eskom. And thank God, the US government has now said, freeze all the Gupta's assets in the US. But guess what? In South Africa, because there's so many corrupt politicians and officials in this country, they're too scared to do that, because guess what might happen? Emails and documents and letters might just suddenly be sent to people in the media. And I would love to get those, because I would expose them just like that. Anyway, let's wait and see what happens. Stock exchange listed companies will be required to submit annual reports to the BBBEE Commission, which the amendments propose. The Commission's function would include supervising adherence to the Act. It would further receive and investigate complaints relating to BBBEE and maintain a registry of major empowerment transactions. The proposals are a bold move and demonstrate government's commitment to ensure successful implementation of BEE, Tolale said. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Amendment Bill closes many loopholes in the current BEE Act, a move that is long overdue. Now, anyone out there? Just do a search on broad-based Black Economic Empowerment on Google, and you decide for yourself how racist this ANC government has become. And it's the mainstream media that have empowered it, because they have been covering this up for 25 years. And the great losers here are not just white, but they are female white people who, like in the Boer War, are now facing a situation where they're going to be forced to go to squatter camps, and just like in the Boer War times, they're going to be in starvation, they're going to be disease, and this will be a lot bigger because there are a lot more white people around. That's why I say we are right now on the tipping point of a genocide in South Africa, because this ANC government policy is just destroying the very suggestion that there was ever a rainbow nation in South Africa. Nelson Mandela lied. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, stay safe. Bye for now.